we just need to finish. There's no way that we can quit this thing because I have a good feeling that they're possibly going to quit.
Congratulations to you both. This must be such, like you were saying before, like kind of like a whirlwind experience. I mean, what was that feeling like when you cracked open that safe and you guys were the champs? MJ, what did it feel like?
Oh, I mean, it was unbelievable. Whenever you have been competing as hard as we were for that long during that season, and you get to the moment where you have this common goal between the two of you, it's just surreal. And I think that's what I said inside the jet with TJ. This is the most surreal experience ever. And let me just tell you this much, Christina, $500,000 weighs a lot. Just for everybody out there, it is very heavy.
It is really heavy, especially when you're like sore and cramping and tired from, running the final. So,
yeah.
I think you can see it on my face. Like as soon as we crack open the safe, I just like am immediately smiling, and we're like running down the airway and we're like, we did it. Can you believe it?
Yeah. All the hard work pays off, right?
It does. And there's something to be said about winning a final or even competing in a final with a partner. When you do it by yourself, it's one thing. I mean, that's great because it's all on you. Okay. You're the one that's responsible for yourself and winning. Mm-hmm. And then whenever you're in a big team type final, that's the other final win that I had was with the team. You don't have as much pressure on you because there's so many other people. But whenever you have just one partner, it's not just you're competing for, that you have to take that other person into account. And I think Jonna and I...
You have only one, you only have one other person that you can rely on.
Right.
So we got very, very lucky. We worked very well as partners and played off of each other's strengths and picked each other up where we had our weaknesses. And hey,
here you are. I mean, Jonna, did you put a lot of pressure on yourself coming off of last season? Jonna?
Well, not necessarily a lot of pressure. When I came back from the first season, as soon as I got home, I started training. I started working out because it was the first time I made it to a final. So I was like, this is actually possible. So, if they call me back to do another season, I want to be sure that I'm ready. Like, I know I'm mentally ready. I just wanted to be physically ready too.
Right. So now that you guys are $500,000 richer, what are we going to do with the money? I know that you both said that you were doing this for your families. So how are we going to spend all this heavy cash?
Jonna and I have been laughing about it. And I'll let her tell you what she's going to do with hers. But what she's going to spend her money on is a little less expensive than what I promised my kids. I promised my kids a new swimming pool.
Nice.
So, yeah, whenever I left, I felt like there's no way that I could come back without winning because they were already playing it out, talking about diving off the high dive and having all their friends over at the house. So that was a lot of pressure on Daddy.
Before leaving for season 2, my daughter, I was like, if mommy wins, what would you like? And she said that she wanted to get a puppy. So that's what I'm doing.
Nice. Very nice.
Obviously a puppy is not going to cost $250,000. So, just save, and winning this money, it's like great because now I, don't have to work and I can just do my job and be a mom.
Were you nervous that you were going to go home after phase 1?
I actually didn't even know that there was a phase 2. When I was mad and frustrated, I'm like, that little mistake is going to cost us time. And MJ kept telling me, he's like, Jonna, the race isn't over. Like, last night TJ said it was night 1. So there's still more to go after this. Yeah. So don't give up.
Well, and I also had a good feeling though, from whenever we were running, it was mainly just Jonna and I all day. And every now and again, we would pass another one of the teams and you could kind of get a temperature check on them whenever you passed them. And then you also saw kind of how far they were in the final by the little, I forget what the word is. So what was it called? The little medallion thing. I think used another word. So you could see how many they had up there. And I kind of had a feeling that Tech and Ayana were having some issues. And we ran by them towards the end of that first phase, and I just felt it on them a little bit. And that's what I kept telling Jonna is we just need to finish. There's no way that we can quit this thing because I have a good feeling that they're possibly going to quit.
Yeah.
And then, we didn't even, something that I'm seeing come up quite a bit right now, even though it just came out today. A lot of the fans are asking if we actually finished phase 1. And the answer to that is we were one trip away from finishing, and then production stopped us from finishing because they had quit and we were kind of running out of daylight there. So that's the only reason.
Yeah, I was like, no, I'm going to finish this puzzle.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, were you guys both shocked that Ayanna ended it like that, so close to the end? And how would you have felt if you were Tech?
It would not have been good on my end.
I mean, I'm not like that shocked, only because like I was also there in the race and it was so hard. It's, the hardest thing that I've ever done. So it was so physically demanding. And I think that like when we were in the middle of the memory board part, they had just started it. And, after making that first trip into the jungle and going back to the nucleus, you realize how many times you're going to have to do that. So, yeah.
And Christina, it's so hard whenever you're having to do this memorization stuff and having to run that far to do it, because they really don't show it that much, but it was every bit of 1.5 miles to 2 miles, if not 2.5 miles from the different checkpoints back to the nucleus. So whenever you were having to go, and if it was whenever we were in the cave and having to memorize all the little symbols and the colors and the dots, and you're doing multiples of those from the time that you leave that cave or you leave the jungle with the memorization board and get back to the nucleus, there's so many things that can happen where you can forget that. I mean, you're exhausted. Jonna and I were talking some during that too, and it could be one little thing. If you take your mind off of the task at hand, you just forget it, So, I mean, it's next level type stuff.